All right, in this episode, I'm talking to University of Georgia player, Corn Ferry Tour graduate, and now PGA Tour rookie Davis Thompson. And he's had some at bats on the PGA Tour with exemptions, Monday qualifiers, etc. But he's got his first full season on the PGA Tour, and he's ready to go. This guy's got a lot of game, and you need to know about it if you're playing DFS or you're betting on golf. It's going to give you an edge. Davis is also a Sea Island Mafia member. I ran through some Sea Island superlatives and asked him to, basically gossip on his boys. That was pretty interesting, including basically who he thinks is the biggest gambler out there, who he thinks has the most game with the ladies of the Sea Island Mafia professional golfers. It's pretty interesting. Had a good talk. Also talked about a potential growing beef with another Davis on the PGA Tour. That was interesting. This is a good one. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, please hit the like button here on the YouTube video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop a comment about the interview and tell me your favorite parts you liked about it, or maybe what you'd like us to ask the next guest. It'd be good. It'd be good for you to do, and it would help us out. All right. So without further ado, here is Davis Thompson. All right, golf addicts, really pleased to have another DGD, a damn good dog, on the podcast. We got Davis Thompson. You guys are probably pretty familiar with Davis. He's played a lot on the PGA Tour, but dude, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
All right, man. So obviously, there's an elephant in the room we got to address. There's a beef, possibly irrational, but I think still a beef that Davis Riley has with you. I think he feels threatened as possibly the best Davis in professional golf. Now, with you coming in, how are you going to handle that this season? And when do you think you'll knock him off the throne as the best Davis on the PGA Tour? I think the listeners want to know. It's a UGA Alabama battle. He knows it's kind of the year of the dogs. The momentum, the tides have changed. How are you going to handle that, man?
That's a great question. I've played with Davis before, and he's a great guy. But I know it's definitely an elephant in the room. We've got to have that conversation because, somebody's got to be at the top. But no, all jokes aside, he's obviously a great player. He had a great rookie year, and just looking forward to competing with him out there.
Well, as dog fans, and I'm one letter from being a Davis, so I'm going to cheer. I'm going to pull for you to kind of, dethrone Davis if he thinks he's like the guy right now. So we're obviously pulling for dogs on top here. By the way, how did you from Auburn, Alabama, if I'm reading this right, get to Georgia?
Yeah, so I grew up a huge Georgia fan. My dad went to Georgia. My mom went to Auburn, so we kind of had a house divided
Mm,
situation. Um, but growing up, I always loved red and black and pulling for Georgia. So, once Coach Hack at Georgia gave me the opportunity to go to school there, I took it and just fell in love with Athens, and it was just a great 4 years there.
I love that. Was Alabama or Auburn coming after you? I'm sure they were.
Yeah, they were. They're my top three schools: Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. But
Yeah.
it just kind of came down to just a comfort level for me, and I loved Athens.
That's awesome, man. We love Athens. It's a good time. All right. So now, for our listeners that don't give a rip to hear us talk about Georgia the whole show, let's get into this. Obviously, our listeners are pretty familiar, I'd say, with you. We have a pretty educated listener base in terms of, guys on tour, just because we're constantly looking at you guys for DFS on DraftKings or betting or something like that. So, you've got, I don't know, a dozen or so PGA Tour events under your belt. So we're used to seeing you a little bit on the tour, but now obviously earning your full tour card. You had a win on the Corn Ferry Tour this season, had a great year. I guess from your mouth, tell us about Davis Thompson's game, the strengths, the weaknesses, the things that you think will translate really well on the PGA Tour, knowing some of those courses, knowing how the PGA Tour sets up a lot of golf courses, and then those things that you got to work on to kind of take the next step.
Yeah, I think just from like a statistical standpoint, my greens and regulation percentage was pretty good this year on the Corn Ferry Tour, and kind of on the opposite end of that, my bad stats were. I think that kind of gets skewed, but my bad stats were like putts per green, stuff like that. But when you hit a lot of greens, you're probably going to have more 20 to 30 footers for birdie, and you're not going to make all of those. So I would say, me personally, I'm more just like a steady player. Try to hit as many fairways and greens as possible, and try to make it as stress free as possible. Tapping in for par is never a bad thing. And if the putter gets hot, I can take it really deep, just like I did in Raleigh and Chicago this year on the Corn Ferry Tour. So it's This year I was kind of a little bit frustrated with my consistency. Just felt like it was either feast or famine. And, I'm just looking forward to trying to be more and more consistent on the PGA Tour because that's kind of the name of the game out there is, how many, you know, 50th places you can get, and as opposed to 50th, how can you turn those into a 35th and
Yeah.
35th into 20th and so on and so on. And I know, I mean, obviously, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it and everybody would be number one player in the world. But, it's just something that's you just have to figure out if you want to be one of the top 50 players in the world.
For you, having played, like I said, around a dozen or so events on tour, like, what do you think is the biggest difference in how a standard week on the PGA Tour golf course is set up versus a Korn Ferry Tour setup?
Yeah, I think the PGA Tour grows the rough up a good bit more than the Korn Ferry Tour. So that puts more of an emphasis on, hitting more fairways and driving the golf ball really well. And
Which you
I,
did really well, right? Korn Ferry Tour, I think you're like 4th in total driving, right?
yeah, yeah. So that's something I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah.
Just to be able to honestly not change anything and just translate that into the tour. And yeah, as far as firmness of greens and tucked hole locations, I mean, it all depends on the course conditions and how much rain they've had, stuff like that. I mean, this last week at Victoria National, I mean, in the practice rounds, it was firm and fast and really good, and then it started to rain and it got really soft, and we played ball in hand, and then the guys were shooting
Yeah.
a gazillion under par. So I mean, it's just it doesn't matter how hard the golf course is. I mean, if you factor in rain and stuff, I mean, guys are going to shoot low.
So when you look at the PGA Tour schedule for yourself coming up, I'm sure you've worked through all that, and again, you're already familiar with a lot of these courses. Just name a few specifically that, like, if as you look out on the schedule, you're like, "Yeah, that place is a place where I feel like I can really contend, or I can really, make some money because it just suits my eye, or I enjoy the course, or I like the putting surfaces, or whatever it is." Like, what are a handful of those courses that you see that on the tour schedule and you're excited to get to?
I really haven't like sat down and thought about like the golf courses, just particularly because I haven't played a good bit of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to think I would have a lot of success at RSM this year at Sea
Yep.
Island.
Yep.
It's kind of tough right now because I don't really know which events I'm going to get in. But at the same time, I do know what I like and what I don't like. But
Yeah.
it seems like this year a lot of my success came on bent greens and mixture of bent and poana and really just tree line golf courses. So it's kind of like an old school feel for me that I really like. Courses like up in Chicago really suit my eye, and those are the type of weeks that you can't. It's just a fine line between you can't put too much pressure on yourself to play well, but at the same time you just got to
Yep.
let it come to you and just go out and execute because what suits your eye.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like, so RSM, you're obviously you live in Sea Island, right? You're one of
Hmm.
the Sea Island Mafia. Um, what I mean, how nuts is that week for, you guys in general, but also you personally, just being that home game, but also it's like it's the last event of the PGA Tour season, so, like, the PGA Tour staff, people, everything's, like, really laid back, but I would imagine you also have some demands being that it's at home. Um, what are your thoughts on that versus, like, obviously a regular event out on tour where you're traveling like this coming up week or something, you're not gonna have some of those demands. How do you have to handle that?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's very laid back. The tournament does a great job with
Yeah.
having it be. It just has a good vibe to it. I mean, it's at Sea Island. I mean, the lodge. It's all just first class. But at the same time, with living, a lot of us living here, it's pretty likely like we're going to have like an obligation during the week to do something, whether it's like
Yeah.
a kids clinic or like a putting challenge or something like that. Which, I mean, that doesn't bother me at all, as long as I get as much preparation as I can in for the tournament. But yeah, it's definitely different when it's at your home just because I feel like all your friends and family want to come because it's your home course, and my family lives here too. So in the past, a lot of my family members have come down for the tournament and watched. So, like I said, there's a fine line between you know trying to play with those expectations to go out and play well and just letting the rounds come to you.
Yeah. So who do you have a swing coach, short game coach? Who do you use?
Yeah, as my swing coach is Eric Eshelman. He's
Okay.
based out of Country Club of Birmingham.
Have you
So
been with him for a while?
yeah, so growing up in Auburn,
Yeah.
he was only 2 hours away. So started working with him when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. So I've been working with him for a really long time.
And then tell us about who you got on the bag and like how that relationship started and all that.
Yes, my caddy is his name is Dean Emerson. He caddied for Doc Redman when he won the U.S. Amateur, and caddied for Rob Oppenheim past couple years. And then once they split after Corn Ferry Finals last year, Dean was kind of looking for a bag, and he knew my agent really well. And then I played with him and Rob at Congaree last year in my first pro start, so I met him then. And then I needed a caddy for Sanderson Farms last year because I got a sponsor invite into that tournament, and it just kind of worked out that he hadn't picked up anybody yet, and we've been with each other ever since.
Nice. So, I have a question for you. This is going to seem really random, but we like to ask everybody, just because there's always potential. We talked to Matt Naismith about this earlier. I would have never thought Naismith would have had some of the answers he had, but it was fantastic. So I just got to dig. You've had some rounds on the PGA Tour. You've been out there. Have you ever had any personal experiences with Siwoo Kim?
No,
No.
I've never met Siwoo.
Okay. All right. So your homework, Davis, is to create interactions with Siwoo Kim. Okay.
Okay.
You will not regret it. You will not. I promise. Find a way to eat breakfast with him, lunch with him, practice round, something. If you get paired with him, just watch him. Okay. He's
Sounds
one of
good.
the most electric people on the PGA Tour, and you would never guess. I promise you.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
The first time you have an interaction or you see something or you hear something that's hilarious that you witness yourself, you're gonna think back to this podcast and go, "That dude was right. That guy was
Yeah,
right." Okay? So,
yeah.
I
No,
want you to create some interactions,
yeah, I'll definitely do that.
and then get back to me when you have when you have your first one, and you're like, "Dude, you will not believe what this guy said or did on the golf course." Okay?
Sounds good.
Trust me. All right, so I wanna ask you a couple things about the Sea Island Mafia. We got so many guys down there. I can't even keep up with how many guys are down there. So we talked to Grayson Sig just a few weeks ago. I talked to Ben Griffin. I didn't even know Ben Griffin was down there. But there's so many of y'all, and a lot of cool dudes. We know a lot of them personally, but I'm just gonna run through a few like superlatives, and you tell me who it is out of the guys that live down there at Sea Island.
Perfect.
The first one is who has the most game with the ladies. And even if they're, like, cuffed up, I get it, but, like, potentially who you think would have the best game with the ladies.
I don't know, I'd probably say Ben Griffin.
Ben?
He just has the personality that's very outgoing, and I feel like he could smooth talk him.
Is he got a girlfriend, or was he married? What's he
He has a girlfriend.
he
Yeah,
has a girlfriend, okay.
yeah.
Alright, Ben Griffin. I wish I would've known that before I talked to him. Alright, best dancer of the Sea Island Mafia.
Best dancer. Um, I guess I'll go with Keith Mitchell.
Really?
Yeah, I guess once again he has a huge personality. I could see him getting down at weddings.
But you never witnessed it yourself.
Never witnessed it myself. No.
Most athletic.
I'll go with myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What were you how many sports you play in high school?
I mean, I played everything growing up, and then once I got to high school, I played basketball and golf throughout.
Basketball and golf.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Biggest shit talker.
Patton Kazire.
I could see that.
Yeah, he's not afraid to
I could see that.
yeah, he's not afraid to dish it out.
He's actually talked shit to me before. Now that I think about it. Yep. All right, biggest gambler.
Oof. Biggest gambler. We doing biggest gambler or biggest chaser?
Either
Either
one.
or.
Either or, yeah. Both and.
Oh man. Um, Once again, I feel like Patton always has a game going. Um, every time I play with him, he's like the commissioner of setting up teams and
Just
setting up
charging everything.
games. Yeah, yeah. The rest of us are just kind of in the back seat.
Is Patton, like, trying to stick around Sea Island and, like, when Davis Love, finally, like, retires from being the mayor of Sea Island, that's Patton's job? Is that what he's trying to do?
I guess
He's
so. I
positioning
guess
himself.
so. Maybe he's second in line. I don't know.
He's the biggest clown, just the biggest jokester, funny guy, always on.
Um, I feel like Will Gordon is.
Will Gordon's down there?
Yeah, he is. He moved down here in like
That's where the
November.
whole population of Sea Island is
Yeah,
professional golfers.
yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of serious conversations with Will, but the majority of our conversations are joking around.
Nice. Who hits it further, you or Will?
Will,
Will's he
as
mauls.
as much as it pains me to say that, Will.
Is he the longest driver on Sea Island?
Yes,
He can hit it, huh?
he sends it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of big hitters down here too,
Yeah.
so it's pretty impressive.
Well, who has the worst short game of all the pro? Worst short game?
Worst short game. I don't know. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
No, you have to.
I mean, I'm trying to think of all the guys that are down here. You know.
I mean, obviously their short game's good. They're professional golfers, but
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
like,
I mean,
okay,
it's hard to pick one.
if you had to have a short game contest with one guy out there and you got to pick your opponent because you'd beat him, that's what it comes down to.
Will Gordon, I would pick him. Yeah,
Most likely to get arrested for anything.
I'll go Brian Harman here.
What?
Yeah,
That's a hot take.
because I just feel like Brian doesn't back down from anybody, and if he gets in a situation, I feel like he wouldn't be afraid to just beat somebody up or do something like that. Because I mean, he's a fighter.
Is he? I guess he has to be. I mean, at least he's obviously very short guy. But
Yeah, he's got a personality that he doesn't take it from anybody.
he'll
So
crawl on your head. What
yeah,
do you
yeah.
know Brian Harmon's nickname?
I do not know.
You don't.
No.
He got it at Georgia. Brendan Todd told us about how he earned it. So I'm gonna give you another piece of homework. I can't believe I didn't mean to do this, but 2 pieces of homework. The first one is Siwoo. The second is ask Brian Harman how he got the nickname Cockbite.
Okay, I actually have heard that one.
Okay,
I just didn't know if it's the same one, but yeah, I have heard that one from my coach
Nice.
at Georgia.
Yep. Okay, cool. It's a great story. Great story if you haven't heard the story behind it.
I haven't heard the
Um,
story, but I have heard the nickname.
yeah, that's hilarious. All right, we're gonna get right back to this fantastic show in just a second, but we have known a guy who's made a ton of money in a little bit of a business, okay, that he started years ago, over 6, 7 years ago, called Smart Scalpers. Our friend Kevin started this company. He's franchised it now to over 16 others. And basically, you can be your own guy. You can be your own girl. It can be a side hustle, a part-time job, a full-time job, selling tickets. You buy and sell tickets with a sophisticated and intelligent software that does it all for you, all driven over the internet, no face-to-face, no standing out on street corners, none of that. He franchised this model back in 2019. It's exploded. A lot of the franchisees and the brokers do the side hustle, and they're making more than even their full-time job. There's no strings attached. You can get out anytime you want, and they provide the training, they provide the support staff, and they train you weekly to help you grow. So you can check out smartscalpers.com. The best thing to do is to call the number or text the number you see here on the screen, 706-755-5974, and tell them the Tour Junkies sent you. They're going to hook you up with some training. Again, it's something you could do on the side. You can do it for as little or as much as you want to do, but it's helping to broker tickets to sporting events, concerts, theaters, performances, whatever you do. Okay. If you want to go see a comedy show, if you want to see a woman sing opera, or you want to go see a baseball man or a basketball man, or maybe you want to go to the WNBA. I don't know. Anyway, if you want to do anything with tickets, if you want to make a little extra money or possibly turn something like this, work from home, into your full-time gig, check it out. Text them, call them 706-755-5974. I've personally known Kevin for over 20 years. He's a great dude. He's trustworthy, does a lot of work with the Masters. He's a great person, and his team is fantastic. They'll set you up, they'll train you. Check it out. Let's get back to the show. Well, I do want to end on just some dog talk, man. I mean, obviously, we're recording this just after the first game of the year against Oregon. Well, I guess first of all, like, just were you at the national title game? We were there. Were you there in Indy?
I was not. No, we
What?
were. Well, we were flying out to the Bahamas like a few days after that, and it was just tough because they were very strict on COVID stuff. So I didn't want to go up to
Mm.
Indianapolis and get it or have anything happen. But
Oh yeah, we all got COVID after Indiana. Like
right,
literally everybody
yeah,
I was with got
we
it.
did. Um, but no, I watched it in my living room right over there with Spencer Ralston, who was my teammate at Georgia and now lives down here, and another teammate of mine.
Yeah, I at one point pregame we had done the lunch thing, and then we went to this tent, huge like big top tent that was Georgia fans only, and they were playing bangers, and there were drinks everywhere. But it was literally, I mean, if you move through the crowds, I mean, you had to like suck in and
Yeah,
move that way. And I at one point I looked at Pat and I was like, I can physically see drops of COVID leave that person's mouth. It was like we walked out of that place to go into the actual stadium. We were like, we all got it, but
yeah,
oh
we all
well.
got it now.
This is
Yeah,
what we get because we're gonna be at this game, and it was amazing.
yeah.
So I guess just maybe, your thoughts on the Dogs, on the outlook for the year. If you got any cool stories about, I don't know if you knew any of those guys when you were in school there or whatever. Just let's talk some Dogs for a second before we get you out of here.
Yeah, I think we're going to be really good again this year.
Yeah,
Obviously, the defense lost a lot, and the defense I thought had a good performance this
yeah,
past weekend. But we also don't know how good Oregon is. I mean, I think they're
right.
top five team in the Pac-12, but at the same time, I just feel like our offense got a lot better. Stetson getting a lot more confidence, being the guy the whole offseason. I think it's going to be a good year. I think you're going to see a lot of points, and I think after the fourth or fifth game, the defense will kind of start to settle in and really start playing like a Kirby Smart defense. But
Yeah.
I think the only funny story I have is my freshman year. I had tutoring with Jake Fromm, um, and we were just in tutoring for the first couple weeks, and then he starts at Notre Dame and wins, and he becomes the quarterback, and then all of a sudden he's not showing up to tutoring. He didn't need that anymore, so
Jeez.
that's
Is
pretty
he
funny.
what team is he on now in the NFL? Giants? Bills?
He was on the Giants last year. I don't know if he's on the team this year,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, he's actually a really smart guy. He always did well
Yeah,
in school, but I just thought that was funny that
that is pretty funny.
I'm the starting
No more
quarterback.
From.
I don't need any more tutoring.
I think, our schedule is obviously, I mean, it's pretty easy, I think, now after
Yeah,
Oregon.
it's favorable.
It does appear that, uh, Florida is, and it's always Florida, right? It's always Florida and Georgia, but,
Yeah,
to me, it's like Florida's the only game that's really tough for the remainder of the year, because I think that Anthony Richardson kid looks really good. But other
yeah,
than that, it's like I'm a little worried that we won't get as tested going into, like, SEC championship, playoffs. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean you're right on that. I mean Florida looked really good last week. We'll see how Kentucky is this week. Florida and Kentucky play each other, and
Yep,
then I think Tennessee can score a lot of points too. So that one kind of jumps out at me. And we play them at home this year.
yep,
Yeah, those are probably the three games that I would circle. Just obviously the Florida game is always big, and then Tennessee and Kentucky. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it was a promising start last week.
I think, I mean, I think you and, that the Riley guy, I'm not gonna say his name. I think you and him, if we meet in the SEC title game again, or maybe it's another national title with Georgia and Alabama, you guys need to have like the jersey bet that JT and Kiz had. Maybe you guys
Yeah.
take the mantle from them or something.
Yeah.
You got to have
Depends on how confident I am. I would have done it. I would have done it last year, but
but a bet between the Davises and the Alabama Georgia thing, we gotta get that going. The PGA Tour will eat that up. They will
yeah,
love that.
yeah. Media would eat that up.
Yep. All right, man. Listen, we appreciate it. Best of luck in your in the fall season here coming up, and obviously, next year. Appreciate you coming on the Tour Junkies podcast. We'd love to have you on again one of these days. Have a big year, and don't forget your two pieces of homework: Siwoo Kim,
Yep. Got it.
and get the story behind that Brian Harman nickname. That'll be funny. And then you
We'll
can tell him
do.
where you were told to ask that, and he'll be like, "Who? What?" Because he has no idea who we are. But Brendan and Todd uh, told the story on our show a couple years ago. It was great. So thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate the time, and good luck this year.
I appreciate it. Thank you.